Well, we are here live at the Fjord Oyster Bank for a Sheriff's Sit-Down presented by our Community Credit Union. Ryan, how are you doing?
Doing great. What a beautiful day and what a cool setup out here. Gosh, if people haven't been out there, they need to come out. This is part of why Mason County is so cool.
It's a wonderful place, wonderful location. We just wrapped up the Sheriff Lunch, and my gosh, it was packed with concerned citizens, and they had brought you a whole host of questions. I mean, when I was listening in, people were really engaged, and that's got to be great for you.
It's huge. A lot of people know that Washington State has the lowest number of officers per 1,000 citizens. And what that means is it takes the entire community to help us do our job. There's just not enough of us. And the example was up at Lake Cushman. They put up cameras because they were having problems at their park. They put up a camera. The person who's control of the cameras got woken up at 3:30 in the morning. He was able to call our deputies. We were able to make arrests right there because we need more eyes and ears out there. We can't be everywhere. So if everybody takes responsibility for the safety of our community, we'll have a better community.
And then follow up on that, you were talking a little bit about some programs that are happening elsewhere around the state that you're going to implement here where folks can help by either giving access to or sending their Ring camera footage if there's things going on. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's actually, we're not quite there, but we're getting close, and it's called Virtual Neighborhood Watch. I've seen it at Phoenix. Tumwater has it.
Okay.
Quite a few other agencies have it. And it's not that I have access to your cameras. It's anybody that has a camera at their house. They just register that, hey, I live in this neighborhood. Here's my address, and I have a camera. So if you have a major crime, you know, because right now, like if we have an abduction of a child,
right,
where it happens, we'll go knock on every door and say, do you have a camera where we can maybe see some footage that'll lead us to some evidence that'll make a difference? This is just a registry saying, we have a camera. If a crime occurs in our community, you can contact me directly.
Yeah.
We don't get access to it, obviously, unless they give us that.
Yeah. One of the other things that was brought up and is a big concern, and I've seen this not only here in Mason, but with your counterpart in Thurston County, it's this, again, through the legislative process. We're talking about this, and we've talked about it before, taking local voter control away from how a sheriff represents the community. And we heard through and in the conversation at the luncheon that just now that it's moving quickly through the House and over to the Senate side. Again, what are the concerns about this? Not only just not being represented or have a representation of law enforcement, but what are some of the other concerns that you see from this thing?
Well, we want to be balanced in this approach. It's called accountability, or not necessarily accountability. Sheriff's Qualification Bill is the way it's being sold. And the Washington State Sheriff's Association, I'm a member of that. We've always said that there should be qualifications in order for somebody to run for sheriff. I think they should have at least a minimum of 2 years law enforcement before they can do that.
Right.
Those type of things. But as of right now, there isn't. So we're advocates for that. But what they've done is they've also put in there that so many months before you even announce that you're running for sheriff, you would have to apply for a background check through the Criminal Justice Training Center, which is controlled by the state. And then if you were elected and CJTC decided that you didn't meet their qualifications, they could remove an elected official without the normal process of recall or any of the other things. And if they do that for a sheriff, which is elected, they can do that for other elected officials. And basically my concern is that takes the authority and power out of the local voters' hands. And the local voters are the ones that need to be able to say who represents them. That's part of the strength of our system.
We had a lot of folks, too, talking about the cleanups that are happening around Mason County and up and down Highway 3. There are a couple of groups who have picked up tens of thousands of pounds of trash along and in the woods along Highway 3, which is kind of, it's right there on City of Shelton property, Mason County jurisdiction, but when it comes to those folks, and I know some are reaching out to the property owners to try to get access to have something on notifying that we're allowed to be here. How does that work again? And what do local citizens need to do to feel like I guess they have the safety in mind when it comes to interacting or coming across homeless encampments if they're out walking around, or just the general population that, sometimes people don't want to be helped, and that's a whole nother conversation. But for those who want to do something,
I tell you, Mason County is a great county to live in, mainly because our citizens care. Our citizens have, many of them have resources, and they use those resources to help those that don't have the resources. So there's actually a tremendous amount of resources for people that are in need in our county, from housing to food to lots of different resources, clothing. And one of the things that we've done when we've removed people along the railroad tracks where the United States Navy asked us to trespass and move some of them because it was going to affect some of the train function, we brought up all those nonprofits with us,
right,
and made a lot of resources available. So we can be proud as a county that we have a lot of those resources. But as you said, a lot of those people, not a lot, some of those people don't want help. They don't want to they just want to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And they don't really care. And that's what we would call a criminal vagrant, not somebody who's down on their luck, but somebody who's defiantly saying, I'm going to live the way I want to live, and I don't care what help you have. I'll take advantage of the help if it helps me, and that's it.
Yeah.
And we have that as well. But the big thing is our community's getting involved. They're taking responsibility for the cleanliness and what our community that they live in is like. And that's when we have good community. Get as many people as involved as possible. The other thing I'm seeing is, across the United States and even in our own communities, we're not good at disagreeing. But the more we interact, we're getting better at disagreeing.
Yeah.
We should be able to have different viewpoints and not mean that you're my enemy because you think differently than I do. This is our community. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we have to team together to make it a better community. So I'm excited when I see citizens get involved in cleanup. And just on another note, we use the inmates to clean up the roads in Mason County as well. And just last year, we cleaned up over 173,000 pounds of garbage on the roads in Mason County.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot of garbage. And I did see too, before we started here, that there are some bills moving through that increase the penalties when it comes to littering and being caught littering on the roadways. Because, yeah, you're driving around and you'll see mattresses or this, that, and the other, cribs, and of course, just the regular trash that you see on the roadway. Let's talk a little bit about the jail overall. You mentioned, too, that you're not having to transport out to Nisqually as much. Maybe the staffing levels are better. Plus, you're re-engaging Grays Harbor on some conversations, or at least the county commissioners are, when it comes to possible either new location or a joint venture on the jail.
Yeah, a while back, Representative Couture and Representative Griffey had petitioned the state to give us $1 million out of the capital budget to do the research on building a facility or a new jail that had both mental health and substance abuse facilities in there. So, for example, we arrest somebody that's in a mental crisis. We would drive them through the door. They would be triaged. And instead of just putting them in a cell, we would take them to mental health professionals within that facility and get them stabilized before they went to the jail for the crime and then went through the court process. Or if they were somebody that's detoxing, we don't want to put them in a cell to detox. We would want them to go with substance abuse professionals to detox them properly.
Sure.
We want to try to give them as much opportunity as they can to rehabilitate and stop spinning down that cycle that they find themselves in. So that was what the research was about. And it basically, after a year of research, it came out that it was going to be too cost prohibitive for our county alone. You go to a previous study, quite a few years ago, we were actually looking at partnering with Grays Harbor County, or
Yeah, I
the
remember
county
that.
commissioners were. And Grays Harbor, I believe at that time, said that they were going to shut it down, and it dissolved. Well, they have two new commissioners, according to what I read in the paper and talked with Commissioner Tarswell. He's reinstituting some of those conversations to see if they want to come back under this new study and maybe partner as counties to come up with one jail facility that would serve both communities, since it's outside the reach of one county's budgetary capacity.
How does Grace Harbor handle this right now? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, their jail is actually in worse shape than ours. If you ask some people, it's built almost at the same time as ours, with state and federal monies, because the counties don't have the money usually to build that kind of facility. And that was back in the 80s. And they build them for 40 beds, and you have a kitchen for 40 and a laundry for 40 and a medical area for 40 and an exercise area for 40. And then you put more beds in it. Now you got 90 people in the facility,
right?
And the kitchen can't keep up. The laundry can't keep up. The medical area can't keep up. The exercise facility can't keep up. So that's what we're dealing with. And then just wear and tear over the years.
Yeah. It is moving into spring, and before too long, we're going to see these roadways swell with visitors coming in, all the snowbirds coming back from the winter time. What, again, are some ways, I guess, just as we wrap up this conversation, some ways that the folks who are here all the time can give a little patience, a little grace, but then also remind folks that, yeah, there's going to be increased traffic, follow those guidelines, and be safe out there.
Well, let me tell you, we only have one incorporated city in Mason County. So that means all of the money spent in Belfair and Hoodsport, part of that comes back to the county and benefits everybody. So
sure.
Although there is an influx of people,
right,
and the grocery stores are really packed, that is helping our community to have services to better serve you all year round. So don't necessarily look at it as a negative thing. I look at it as a positive thing.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate these conversations, and I know the folks here, not only at the Oyster Bank, but at the Bistro at Lakeland Village and at Spencer Lake, love hearing from you, love hearing from the chaplain. He's always got a great message as well. All your staff, you were talking about some promotions that you have coming up. And of course, we'll talk about those as we move on through the next month or so as those come settled in. But these conversations, of course, brought to you by our community credit union, huge partners and
amazing.
Huge supporters of what law enforcement does. So thank you very much, Ryan.
We're halfway through the first DARE rotation.
Oh, yeah, no, let's talk about that.
They're the supporters of that. And it's just exciting to see these fifth graders go through this program. And again, this is not the DARE of the 90s and early 2000s where it's just say no. This is a decision-making process.
Okay.
Teaching kids how to evaluate and make good, solid decisions. And so far, it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, I saw Deputy Colbinson at the Polar Plunge, and we talked a little bit about that and kind of the groundswell of support that you guys have received from that. Again,
well, we've got to invest in our kids. That's our future.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, that's a good way to wrap it up. Mason County Sheriff Sit Down, presented by our community credit union. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate all you do.
Thank you.